Welcome back, everybody. 3:45, Thursday the 22nd of August. So it begins. Some final cleaning to do. I've got to wipe this down at least once or twice. Got to take care of the where I probably had wax and grease remover that I didn't clean up all the way or something like that. Get that blocked out, get that taken care of, and then it'll be one coat of reduced white epoxy primer on her, and then Saturday I'll be back for paint. So I did a little bit worse job of painting than I had thought I'd done. So there's several spots that I had to go through and get the cratering out. A couple of them I went to bare metal. So essentially what I'll do is like I did with the bonnet, I'll mix up full strength, shoot a couple spots that need it, wait 30 minutes, cut the epoxy down to 25%, and then paint the rest of the car. So this will be the largest single application of paint that I've done. I'm going to do a couple dry runs and things like that just to make sure, especially for transitioning under the dash and getting out, to make sure I'm not going to touch stuff, and going to go ahead and start cleaning. Everything's been mopped, and I'm not mopping the floor to keep the floor wet. I may do that when I use shoot color, but I don't intend on doing that now. But I am going to sweep it still. I've wiped the car down once with soapy water and once with just a regular rag. I've got the fan going here just to try to keep some air circulating. You can see the plastic flipping around, and get the car dried off. I'm going to go ahead and grab a bite to eat real quick. I mixed up about 25, 26 ounces of paint or so. Obviously I'm writing this stuff down now because now it really matters. Then I'm painting the whole thing. This will give me an idea what I need to use for base coat and clear coat for that matter. I haven't cut any of it yet because, again, like I said, I've got those couple spots that I want to hit real quick. Took care of all those spots that had some of the cratering and everything. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. I still got to wax and grease remove everything at least 2 more times once it dries from the water. All right, here we go. I got the little touch-up done again. I'm going to hit the bare metal spots and just work my way around. All right, better job that time. Didn't get any of the cratering or anything like that. So I'm going to wait about 30 minutes, about 6:38 or so. Give it about 30 minutes. Then I'll come back in and paint the whole darn thing. Getting ready to cut the paint here. Weigh the cup. This is just obviously an empty cup. Weigh that empty. It's about 0.6 ounces or so. With the mixed but unreduced epoxy primer, I'm looking at about 8.78 ounces or so. So you subtract out 0.6, it's about 8.2 ounces. And again, I want to cut it by 25%, and I'm just going to do a simple weight rule. So 25% of 8.2 ounces. That's just about 2 ounces. So all I'm going to do is take the urethane reducer, dump in until it reads about 10.8 ounces. Nothing more complicated than that. Reduced with 2 ounces of urethane reducer. I'm going to use the touch-up gun. That's the smaller one's been dedicated to that. I haven't cut the big amount of paint yet, but I'm going to use the touch-up gun all under the dash, all in the interior and everything like that. Hopefully it won't get the hose anywhere, and then I'll come back out at that point, dump everything back that I need to, cut the large amount of paint here, and put that down. Hopefully I don't end up wasting too much, but I think I'm going to I overmixed, but that's okay. Alright, all the interior spots are done. Put up a lot bigger of a cloud than I thought it would. Inside there, I've got to take a little bit better precautions next time with covering my skin. I've got a Tyvek suit somewhere. I think it's at home, unfortunately. But I am going to go ahead and get the outside of the body done real quick. Mixed up way too much paint, but that's alright. I wrote it all down so I'll know for the base coat. So here we go, one coat of cut or reduced epoxy. Still got my mask on. It's pretty bad in here. Definitely a big difference with the fumes when you're spraying at the right pressure than when you're not. Yeah, all in all, I'm not too upset. There's some minor cratering in there. I had to adjust my air pressure and my flow as I went, kind of the same spot on the other side, so that might be a distance thing. But for the most part, it looks like I got it down pretty evenly and pretty well. There's definitely some difference in color, but I don't think it's going to be enough to matter. I'll ask tomorrow that since I have a slight difference in color, I have way too much epoxy left, but that stuff's all going to kick in the next 18 hours or so. When you reduce it, it doesn't last anywhere near as long. So I kind of wish I hit that spot again. You can kind of see that. But it is covered. I should get good coverage with the red. I'm not worried about the minor spots like that, but I will have to, when I come back this weekend, I am going to have to take care of those spots that got some cratering and see what I'm going to do about that, especially on the sail plate here. That's actually not very good. So anyway, it was definitely a learning experience getting that all done. Kind of nice to see it all in one color. We'll be back this weekend and see how it goes. Good morning, everybody. About 8:15 Saturday morning, 24th. Paint day, if everything goes well. I think it looks like a lot of the stuff that I had seen on Thursday night that I was concerned with, looks like a lot of that had flowed out, which is good. So I'll do a nice long once over on the car with a lot of bright light to see where I'm at, and then look at, holy cow, look at getting some paint on here. So I've told you guys before that the owner of Southern Polyurethanes gives out a cell phone number that you can text him directly 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, to ask questions about what's going on with painting. So I just texted him real quick to ask about the splotchiness and some of the white spots that didn't get complete coverage, and see what his thoughts were if I needed to reshoot it, and he said nope, no problem. And I said to wish me luck, this will be my first painting experience. And he said no worries, you won't have a problem. When you're spraying the red, spray it wet and don't baby it. So I'm going to follow his advice, of course, from the guy that designs and manufactures the paint. Now I'm just going to go around, like I said, I got a 600 grit sanding block, a soft block here, go around and find some of the dirt areas, get the junk out pretty lightly. I'm going to try to not be aggressive so that I don't burn through any of this white. If I do, I've got some of it still left from shooting it on Thursday. It's still in good shape. If I do get some burn through, I'll just lay that stuff down and then give it a 2-hour shot to cure. That's the minimum amount of time in the book. And since it'll be just spot areas, I'm not too concerned. So I'll go around and take care of those spots real quick and then continue on. So just based on the amount of trash and everything else that was going on inside the paint, I essentially blocked the whole car back out in 600. I'm going to do a gray scuff pad next and then go through and clean and mop and all that kind of stuff again and then get ready to shoot paint. But Eric, you were right that the struggle is real with the trash and the paint. A lot of little fibers and all sorts of stuff in there. So still need to clean it up with wax and grease remover, wipe it down, all that kind of stuff, and get it nice and clean. But it's definitely going to go into paint today. One thing that is recommended by just about anybody is I got 3 separate cans of the red here. Two of these I got at one shot, and then I bought a third when I used enough of this one to make me nervous that I'd run out using the Raptor liner. These all have the same batch dates. They were all made in 2017, but I'm not sure, and everybody recommends that you want to mix all this stuff up so that the colors don't become different as you apply. Car's been wax and grease removed. Probably give it a good half an hour here, 45 minutes even, to allow it to dry, just so I don't get any cratering. I've made that mistake a couple times. Man, I am if you can hear it in my voice, I'm really nervous. So I know what you mean, Eric. I did sleep last night, however, but this is for all the marbles here. Let's see, things that I did. I mopped everything like I had mentioned. For the compressor, I changed out the motor guard filter. Frankly, I'm just using Scott's toilet paper. Yeah, it's cheap. So I changed that out. I'm going to use a brand new desiccant filter, inline desiccant filter, and now I am about ready to mix the paint. So based on how much white epoxy primer that I used, I'm going to mix up about a full quart here or up to the top line, which is going to be about 24 ounces or so. And then I got to do the math, but the base coat calls for activation, and you use the clear coat activator to do that. And essentially, I'm a little fuzzy on exactly what that does, but from my understanding is it allows you to repair the base coat more easily if you have problems with it than it would otherwise. Again, I'm not real sure all the gist behind all that. But the paint gets mixed up 1-to-1, so it'll be, 1 part base, 1 part urethane reducer. I'm breaking everything down because I'm going to essentially use the same amount of paint when I go to do the clear. I still have to tack the car yet, but I am going to mix up the paint. So the activator, 1 ounce per sprayable quart. Since I'm going to probably end up doing about 24 ounces or so, I'm just going to do 0.75 ounces. That's how the math works out. I don't think this is a critical measurement here. I'm not too worried. One thing about the activator is it will get some of the stuff that's left out on the threads and everything will cure up. So you'll get these like little thin strands. If I can show you one here. Get little thin strands like that. You just want to make sure that stuff doesn't get into the paint. Alright, it's a little bit over, but that's fine. And like I've taken to doing before, I'm going to use the reducer first and pour that in so that I can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to essentially fill the cup up 1-to-1. So I'm going to go to the 3. This scale here is 1-to-1 to 1-to-1, which kind of makes it confusing. So the 1-to-1 to 1-to-1, if you want to go all the way to the top on the number 3 over here, you essentially do the 2nd increment and then the 4th increment. So, and I've done this a couple times and measured out equal things of water and it works. So I'll go to the 3 on the 2nd line and then the 3 on the 4th line to give me the pure 1-to-1. Alright, pretty much nailed that 3. Alright, use the same trick here with the tape to try to minimize the mess a little bit. One nice thing about the paint, there's no activation time or anything like that. It'll pretty much stay in the cup for a while based on my experience when I painted the Datsun fender. I'm not going to pour the activator in it until right before I'm ready to pour it into the cup, however. I am going to use my decup system for the big gun. I've only used that a couple times because the cups themselves, the disposable liners, aren't real cheap, but it'll help me get some angles and things like that. I kind of wish I had it for the little gun for getting under the dash, but so be it. But this will make cleanup a lot easier, and it's just, I bought it, might as well use it, even though I've gotten used to the other cup. I don't really expect it to change my method at all. So now I'm going to go in the booth, tack out the car. It's been about 45 to 50 minutes since the wax and grease removal went on, so I shouldn't have any problems with that. Get the car tacked down and get ready to shoot. Pointed these out in a previous video, but these are the surgical blue tack cloths. This is what most of the guys on the SPI forum recommend. I did find these on Amazon. Unfortunately, Tony, before you gave me the app link, but I picked these up. I don't remember how much they were for a dozen of them. Also, I wanted to make the point that this amount of red here, I don't expect it to do more than a coat. So when I mixed up the epoxy primer on Thursday, right, that was enough for only 1 coat. All right, here we go. I've also got on a Tyvek suit. I know I haven't done that for a little while. Again, all in an attempt to keep the dirt down, or the trash down. So we'll see how that works. Under the dash first. went pretty well, right up until the point that the plastic back here started shedding the white epoxy primer. Yeah, so that's a big bummer. And I think what I'll do is probably wait for the entire cure here and then hit it with 1,000 grit sandpaper, just very lightly. There's a real big chunk right there. Just very lightly to see if I can get that stuff off. This is only the first coat, so I guess if I had a choice, this would be the time for it to go. But yeah, that's not cool. All right, it's been about 45 minutes. I took a 1,000 grit and a gray scuff pad to these up here. I tried to blend them in. Got most of it. The only one that didn't really come out is this, but I can't feel it with my finger at all. So I'm frankly just kind of hoping it'll paint over. And also the B-pillar cap goes there, so it should cover it. So I'm going to cheat a little bit. Really kind of a bummer there that it went on the whole sail plate. So yeah, lesson learned. Don't reuse your plastic once the paint is dry on it. So to prevent further complications, hopefully, I just kind of covered up what I had with green paper and just taped over it. Hopefully this doesn't come flying off. That'd be bad. And I got everything hit down with 1,000 grit and or a gray scuff pad, so hopefully that'll take care of that. I didn't find too many pieces of trash. I found a couple. I had one run, believe it or not, only one, which I sanded down with 1,000 grit. I don't think you're really supposed to do that now. Actually, I got a big old sag right here too that I didn't see. Ooh, and another one over here that I didn't see. Yeah, well, shoot. I'm going to go ahead and put the second coat on anyway because I'm afraid of losing my window here, and go ahead and get that down. And then I'm only going to do under the dash this last time with 2 coats, and inside the interior with 2 coats. I'm not going to do the third coat. I've got it all mixed up, ready to go, and then I'll going to only use the big gun as well. I'm not going to use the little gun this time. Second coat's on. I'm resisting the temptation to go in there and take a look. I'm going to try and let it dry up a little bit more before I go in there and mix any more dust up. It's actually not too bad in here. I got the fan in the booth on high. I got an exhaust fan. Got the garage door wide open, but not hanging out in here any more than I need to. I can see in there's all sorts of red dust on the floor and everything, so it definitely needs to be swept out when this is all done before I get to clear tomorrow. But it's going all right. I think I covered those spots that I took care of. The time will tell. I've decided to stop at 2 coats. The little repairs that I did on the sail plate here didn't work really all that well. I still can see every one of those marks. So I'm going to have to ask a question tonight. Hopefully I don't get a horrible answer. And my one big run on the outside of the car, right there, surprises me. That's not a very hard space to paint. So there's not even clear on this yet, and it looks pretty damn good as far as I'm concerned. A lot of trash. So between the trash, the little fuzzies and everything that's in it, and the run, and the fact that the sail plate's got some issues, I'm going to stop here at the 2 coats. And then tomorrow I'll come in, hopefully with some answers on what to do about the sail plate. There's the filter. You can see how horrible that is. It's actually not too bad in here right now, but I can kind of smell it a little bit. So I'm going to call it a day, get out of here, and I'll be back tomorrow to finish up, hopefully. Red dust everywhere. Welcome back Sunday. I haven't walked in to see it yet. Yep, still red. So my goal today is to take care of those specks that got left by the flaking epoxy. And I did ask on the SPI forum last night, essentially told take 1,000 grit sandpaper on a hard block and sand it down until the spots clear and blend in, and then stop, clean it up, and then reshoot. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take care of that run, take care of those specks, get 2 more coats on it, and that's going to be it for the day. Well, I got that stuff all sanded down. You can see in a couple spots I had to go pretty deep to get it to fade in, but most of them seem to have just come through, so hopefully it doesn't cause too many problems. I also got a lot of this run out. You can kind of still see a little bit of a dark outline, and I'm kind of crossing my fingers and hoping that that will cover itself up as I add paint. I am going to do 2 more coats, especially since I went down to bare epoxy on a couple of spots and touched up some of these sags that are up here, but I'm not going to worry about the firewall too much. I'll let that, it's kind of in bad shape anyway. So I have some paint left over from yesterday. I'm going to go ahead and re-stir that and lay that down, and then probably have to mix up a little bit more. I'll get 2 coats on it, and then that'll be it. I'll get out of here. The clear won't be until the next visit. One nice thing about the clear, however, is the car never gets out in the sun, which obviously it's not going to. You can pretty much clear in an indefinite window. So there's no worries with clearing, 6 days later or 6 months later. It doesn't really matter. This is wax and grease remover, but this is solvent based, unlike the other stuff that I've been using is water based. The solvent based stuff will not eat base coat. Supposedly the water based stuff, as soon as it comes in contact, and it essentially will wipe your base coat off, which would be bad, obviously. It's kind of interesting that the water based stuff is more potent than the solvent based stuff, but there you go. So I'm going to put a little bit of that in that spray bottle there and just wipe down the body and go from there. All right, coat number 3 is down. Still, it looks like it covered up most of those spots, not all of them. There's still, I can still see some of them, but I'm not going to worry about it. Got a little white spot there that I got to cover, a little white spot there that I've got to cover. I've got one more coat coming. This one filled in okay on the front here. All that stuff kind of came out all right. Sag there. I'm not going to worry about it. So I'll put down the 4th and final coat here in just a minute. My timer's actually ready to go, and pay attention to those areas back there to try to get them covered, but otherwise I'm really happy. Alright, 4th coat is on. Still got my mask on. That's going to do it for the paint. There's a couple spots got covered. Again, I didn't get all the spots out of the sail plate, but oh well. Happy with the way that everything flowed, happy with the way that it all came out. Let this dry. It'll be a couple days before I get a chance to get back over here. And then I'll go ahead and get it into clear. 20-foot paint job. It's good enough for me. Welcome back, everybody. It's Tuesday, about 3 o'clock. It's the, the 27th of August. Didn't think I was going to get over here until tomorrow, but obviously I'm here today. So the object today is to get the car into clear. And it looks pretty good in regular red. There's a lot of trash, but I'm just going to deal with that. And then get it into 4 coats of clear, half an hour in between coats. Obviously you need to get all the red dust and out of here. Untape everything and remask everything so I don't learn the lesson again that I learned spraying the back plastic here. So that's going to take a bunch of time to get everything cleaned up and all that kind of stuff, but that's the intention, at least until it's done. Floor is mopped, car is wiped down with wax and grease remover. Again, the solvent based, not the water based. Got the board set up for the practice. I'm going to let it dry a little bit, grab a bite to eat real quick, let it get ready to shoot some clear. 4 coats is the intention, 30 minutes in between coats, not to exceed 45 minutes. There is a, I can't remember now what Southern Polyurethanes called it, but there's a window where the clear will not accept another coat. So you either have to get inside of that window or you have to wait and get on the outside of that window. I don't really expect to be in a hurry, so I shouldn't have any problem getting on the inside of that window. But from about the 65 to 75 minute mark, depending on temperature and everything, the window closes and you have to wait until after that. So 30 minutes in between coats. I've remasked everything, checked everything out to make sure that's all good. And yeah, I'm just going to, they told me to spray it the way you want to see it when it dries. So I'll keep the fan on, and then right when I'm all done with the final coat, I'll turn the fan off. You're supposed to let it settle out, and I'll take the imperfections that I have. I know I pointed this out before, but I don't remember having done it recently. This is the DeVilbiss the cups system, and essentially this goes like this on the gun and screws in. There's an adapter on the gun. I'll show you all when it's all connected, but you just put your paint in there, and there's little liners in here. So this lid here, and there's a little liner in here. That's all disposable, so you just trash it. Makes it obviously clean up a lot nicer. The biggest advantage and the reason that I got it is because you can paint upside down with this because it seals everything in. So it's convenient under the dash and things like that. and also for me being a rookie a little bit and not having as good a control over the gun. The unfortunate part is that things are really expensive, so I just ordered a new set of them because I'm in the zone with color and clear, so I want to maintain the use of these things. So, like I said, they're not real cheap, but they are very nice. I didn't point this out to you when I was painting color, but this is the DeVilbiss Cups system. I've showed you this before a long time ago when I first started painting, and it's a convenient system in that it has a disposable lid here and a disposable element inside, so all the paint goes in that. Put the lid back on, screw this cap on so it's tight, and then you've got a little cap here if you need to keep it sealed. And then the gun has an adapter on it right there, and you turn the gun upside down and twist lock it in, pick it up, and you're ready to shoot. The nice thing about it is it draws a vacuum and you can paint upside down. Obviously there's also no cleanup, so that's convenient. The drawback is the disposable parts are pretty expensive, you know, that whole razor blade theory. So I'm going to get ready to mix up the clear here. I'm going to mix up about 16 ounces of it. The pot life with this stuff, depending on the temperature and all, is about 2 to 3 hours. So I expect to have to mix up a little bit again. Alright, just got done wiping the car down, got the paint mixed up, got the rag here, or the tack cloth I should say. Everything's good to go. Got a fresh Tyvek suit, fresh gloves, the whole deal. These Tyvek suit doesn't have a hood or booties, but I bought booties. I got a little skull cap on. I also bought a cover for my eyeglasses completely. It is vented, but I was getting some pushback and it was kind of getting under my safety glasses, so I bought a pair of like the splash goggles. I don't expect it to be completely tight, but it should be a little bit better. And yeah, I'm ready to go. Also, before I forget, I want to point out this stuff sprays at a little higher pressure. So whereas the base coat, I had it set at about 23 pounds and about 1 2/3 turns open, 1 1/3 turn open, something like that. I'm going to spray this at about 28 pounds, and I have to adjust the flow. Obviously, I got this practice board over there. I'm still going to practice or set it up, but I just wanted to make that point. This sprays at a little higher pressure. All right, so 28 pounds, about 1 1/4 turns open. I really don't want any runs here. I'm going to do underneath the dash first. Same essential order that I did with the base coat. I'm not going to do any more than 2 coats underneath the dash. And in those areas, since they're not going to show, I'm just pretty much covering them for UV protection, incidental, and using the big gun the whole time. Alright, you can see I kind of went back and cheated there. Got some spots that I had missed. Should have made a better plan with the light. That was a mistake. However, it seems to have gone down pretty well, even a little bit better than I had on the Datsun fender. There's still fibers and stuff in it and all that, but hopefully I'll be able to buff all that stuff out when I get to that point. But so now 30 minutes. Wait 30 minutes, put another coat, and continue on. You can see the little bit I got left in the gun there, or in the DeVilbiss Cup system. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to pour that back into the cup. I'm going to measure the amount that I used. That way I can figure out, hey, that's 1 coat including the insides, so that it can gauge for mixing up the next batch so that I don't overmix. Because I only have 2 quarts of this clear, and obviously the body's going to take the most of it, but I don't want to waste it if I don't have to. All right, so I've got about 5 ounces or so left in the cup. I mixed up 16 originally, so that's about 11 ounces that it took to paint. 1 coat on the outside and the interior. So now I want to mix up enough, if I can, if I've got the room, for the remaining 3 coats that I want to do. So I don't think I put a whole lot down on the interior, maybe 2 ounces. So I'd say it takes 10 ounces to do the outside of the car. That's 3 more coats of 10 ounces, so that's 30 ounces total. And then 1 coat of 2 ounces, so that's about 32 ounces left that I need. So I can mix in this cup right here, I can mix up to 26 or so, 25 ounces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump this back into the DeVille Vista Cups thing and mix all the way up to the maximum amount that I can mix. And then we'll gauge it at the end to see if I need to mix up a little bit more. All right, another little lesson learned. And Eric, who is a big viewer of my channel, had the same problem, and I almost had the problem. But you got your gloves on, and your hands just sweat like a beast in these things. So when you lift your hands up, all the sweat runs out of the gloves, and it's easy to get in to the paint, obviously. And I can't really show you that well, unfortunately, because my tripod's in with the car, and I don't want to take a chance here. But I'm going to take this glove off real quick and show you. I'll try to set it up so that you can see as I do it here. Hold on. All right, so I got the glove and the vise here. I'm just going to take it off. And you can see how wet the glove is. My hand's all wrinkly and all that. So what I've taken to doing is just taking the gloves off in between coats and hanging them over something, let them dry out a little bit. And that way I can let my hands dry and all that kind of stuff, and it minimizes. Right about the time I'm ready to drip all over the place, I'm done. So. That's the inside of the strainer. That's why you use strainers. Is that little red flake in there? Oopsie. All right, got 3 coats down. Still struggling with the trash. There's just nothing I can do about it. I would have had to totally redo the way I was doing stuff, I think. So lesson learned. First time, I'm happy with it. The stuff goes down really easy. You can see that line's just pretty nice. I don't, no, very minimal orange peel, a lot less orange peel than what I had in the Datsun fender. Of course, I'm spraying it properly now. You can probably see that piece of trash there. Big one. That's a big one. I'm hoping a lot of that stuff will cut and buff out, but I don't know. I stopped at 2 coats on the bulkhead here, but I've got 3 on the outside of the body. 1 more I'll do, and then I'm going to call it there. It takes about 15 minutes to evacuate most of the dust in here. So that's about how long extra I'll run the fan, and then I'm going to call it a night. All right, so one thing I didn't think about was that I had the bulkhead coat 30 minutes plus whatever I've waited for the 3rd coat here, since this is on only coat number 2, and I could fall into the no man's land between 60 and 75 minutes. So I'm going to go a little early with coat number 4. The tech manual calls for at least 10 minutes, so I'm not really worried about it, but it calls for 30 minutes for a restoration job, so I'm just going to go a little early to potentially avoid any minor overspray causing any problems. All right, 4 coats down. Stuff lays down really nice. Wish I didn't have so much trash, especially in the sail plate, but hopefully I'll get some of that out when I cut and buff. In case you're curious, I did 4 coats to give me a lot of mils so that I could cut and buff, because I knew it wasn't going to be perfect. But not a whole lot of orange peel here. I'm really happy with that. Very little actually, but I mean it can use a little quality shine, but I'm really happy with the way it sits. 10-foot paint job. Alright folks, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment below, tell me what you think. Obviously a milestone couple of days here, so I'm real excited. Next, I'll land the body on the chassis and make some more room for painting more stuff and start some reassembly in parallel. Thanks again. Cheers.